And we're back to another Wheel of Time rewatch video. To those who were concerned because I was making videos about something else this past week, this hopefully will reassure you I am in no way abandoning the Wheel of Time. I've been obsessed with those books for more than half of my life. Don't worry, I am still obsessed with them. I'm just, I don't know, trying to branch out a bit, and I wanted to watch that show and thought I'd try my hand at something new. But I am definitely still making Wheel of Time content. Do not worry. But anyway, okay, this video being a rewatch video is going to contain spoilers for the entire first season of the Wheel of Time TV show. And as far as book spoilers go, I'm gonna say I'm going through to Knife of Dreams, which is book 11 of the Wheel of Time book series. So if you've watched the first season and you've read the first 11 books, you're good to go. The rest of you, go away. Man, every time it feels so weird to say that, but I mean it. Please don't make me spoil things for you. As for the rest of you, let's go.
Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, let's be nerdy. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, let's be nerdy, babe.
The first thing that stood out to me on this watch is from the cold open. We see Logan channeling, and we learn later on, of course, that he is extremely powerful. It takes 2 full Aes Sedai to shield him. But seeing this and comparing it with what we see Ishi do in the last episode, it's the speed that stands out. Logan's weaves seem to take as long as the Aes Sedai's weaves, whereas Ishi's were pretty much instantaneous. It's kind of like the current Aes Sedai, as well as Logan. They need to charge or something, like charge up with the power before they can use it, which puts them at a massive disadvantage when compared to the Age of Legends channelers. Oh, the other thing I noticed from this cold open, see the guardrails in Galedan? They understand safety. Just get your designers, your architects to Tar Valon and Shadar, well, don't go to Shadar Logoth, but just, guardrails, so important. And, okay, I know this is a rewatch video and I should be focusing on new observations, but sometimes the same things jump out at me. And in this case, acting! What we see from Kate Fleetwood and Rosamund Pike here in this scene, like the relief in Leandrin's face when she lets go of the shield, she's just like, oh. And then we see the force of Logain's power hitting Moraine. You can see it sort of bumping her from the inside. It's so good. It's so good. And, okay, speaking of that shield, as a book reader, I'm wondering what it is exactly that Logan is doing here. Is he just constantly pushing at the shield? Like, I know that they're having to use force to hold it, and later on, Moraine says something to the effect of, he looks like he's just sitting there, which implies that he's not just sitting there, that she could feel him actively doing something inside the shield. Why? Like, occasionally test the shield, that makes sense, but why constantly be actively trying to channel? I think I just know too much about how channeling works, because that just feels really, really impractical to me. I know the actual answer. Like, I know the answer is it's just easier to explain to non-book readers how strong he is this way, that his just being a male channeler is hard for them to contain, but my book reader brain is going, Logan, just chill out, dude. You're gonna wear yourself out. Lan and Steppen here, they're playing that game from New Spring. There's a game in New Spring. I think they call it Sevens, where Lan and Bukama and Rhine, I think, they are like trying to get their swords as close to the other person's neck as possible without killing them. It's a weird game. That's what this is. Okay, but what this scene is doing, the purpose of what this scene is, I think, is to set up the friendship between Steppen and Land for the next episode. But to me, it's it's really undermined by a later scene between Steppen and Carini, where they have this conversation that basically says, we can't really get to know Lan and Moraine because they're really, really closed off and they're really, really hard to get to know. I just have a lot of trouble buying that Steppen and Lan are close. The next observation I have is actually not my own, but it was pointed out to me in the comments of my video on episode 4, I think by my friend Zool, but that the way that Egwene is wearing this shawl here, this striped shawl, it evokes the image of a striped stole, which, that's pretty cool. Another not new observation, but man, rewatching this episode just slammed it home for me. It is incredibly rude of the actors and the writers of Kate Fleetwood and Priyanka Bose and whoever is writing their characters to make me like and care about Leandrin and Alana. It is incredibly rude. They are going to hurt me. Something I did notice this time around, a new observation, when Rand and company, they meet with the, Daddy Grinwell. Sorry, I don't know why I called him that. But okay, Rand points out that Daddy Grinwell isn't pulling his bow back properly for shooting. He says that he pulled it back with his hands instead of his fingertips. When the camera pans over and we see Mrs. Grinwell, or Mama Grinwell, I don't know why I'm doing this right now. But anyway, I think she's pulling it back with her fingers. I'm not sure, but I think she is, which that means she's ready to shoot, right? Which I find kind of hilarious. Also, I'm just going to point it out for the people in the back. Look how dirty Rand and Matt are. The why is everybody so clean complaints make no sense to me. They're dirty when they should be dirty. People generally try to be clean. Ugh! This little girl, subtitles are still calling her Elsie, the credits call her Helga. I think the credits are right, she's Helga, but it's interesting to me. It still makes me wonder if we're going to see Elsie later on. Once again, I have to call out the acting. The body language by Nynaeve, Zoe Robbins here in this moment, when she thinks for a second that Lan is going off to go to the nasty with Moraine. I love it. It's amazing. Oh, and speaking of actors and writing making me like characters I hate, Aram. I hate Aram in the books. From, the second he's introduced, he just gets on my last nerve. But here, I love him. I love him in the show, and it's going to break my heart. I mean, if they take him the same way he goes in the books, why is the show doing this to me? Why? They're just gonna hurt me over and over and over again. And because I'm just doing this, I have to go on and on about the acting. Maria Doyle Kennedy, this speech is so good. And I have to, of course, major props to the writing, too, because without those words to say, this would be nothing. But I cannot believe, it just gets me every time, how well the Tuathon come across in the show. In the books, I like them, I care about them, and I want them protected, but I don't feel drawn in by them. I don't feel tempted by them or their philosophy. I consider myself kind of a pacifist, but not to their level. I would protect people with violence if I had to, but the show version of them, I don't know. I think this version of the Tuathon would have converted me. This dream sequence this is Rand's dream sequence here. Is it possible that Egwene is actually in the dream? She's in Tel'aran'rhiod? Because she's a dreamer, so it's interesting to me that she seems to be the only one who's aware in this moment. Oh, Perrin. Perrin's also kind of a dreamer, and he's not aware, so I don't know if that theory holds up. Oh, okay. When I did my episode breakdown, a few people in the comments suggested that the dream Perrin here was hammering at a tinker. I didn't think so at the time, because it doesn't make sense, because this is Rand's dream, and Rand doesn't know about them. But also, now that I had that in my mind, I was paying attention on this rewatch, and double checking, that's Layla's braid. And I, apparently, the braid expert. So yeah, that's Layla's braid. He's hammering at Layla, which makes much more sense because Rand actually knows Layla. This time around on this rewatch, I found myself in this moment wondering what non-book readers were thinking of this, or if they caught this at all. This moment, Matt is in a house with a fade. He's alone in there, I don't know for how long. The fade hangs back. As a book reader, I know why. I know that the fade is likely scared of the dagger, but without that knowledge, I wonder if any, non-book reading viewers wondered why the fade didn't attack Matt. None of the reactions videos that I watched, and I watched a lot of reaction videos, but none of them mentioned this. But to be fair, they were all on their first watch. They were watching it once. I don't know if any of them are rewatching it. Who knows? But I don't think this is something you would think about on the first watch because you'd just be freaked out. But maybe later you'd wonder why, because Matt's just a dude. He's just a dude. He's holding just a random dagger. It doesn't make sense for the fade to not attack him. Nynaeve in this episode, already showing that she'll just follow Lan around. I guess it's a bit of a precursor to episode 7 where she stalks him around Faldara. Leandrin. Leandrin is a slippery, slippery motherfucker. She says here that if he, meaning Logain, were to break out, the 3 oaths would allow us to gentle him. Which, first of all, no, that doesn't make any sense. Nothing in the 3 oaths says anything about gentling men who can channel. The only possibility I can think of, actually, is that maybe using the power as a weapon in last defense of your life, which feels like a real stretch to me, but I can see Leandrin and the Reds thinking that, the existence of a man being able to channel without being shielded. I can see them reading that as a threat to their life. But this time around, what this made me wonder is, in that cold open, that first guy that they are chasing, did she do that? Did she let him escape so that she and, the other Red sisters could gentle him on the spot? We, us book readers, we know Leandrin, not exactly a scrupulous character. She would have no problems doing, just gentling him without that excuse. But the other Reds might. So maybe she let him run away so that they would all chase him and then they could gentle him. Oh, Andren. This moment here, when Logain escapes, I'm curious to know how Logain knew how to time his escape. I'm willing to accept it, weirdly. It's not breaking my immersion at all, but I can't find a way for it to work mentally. I know Carini has wards, but I don't think there's a way that Logain could detect those, especially behind a shield. So, it's fine. I'm just curious. I'm trying to figure it out. I saw some discussion online about Carini seeing Logain's weaves here, and I don't think that's what happened. And I have to say, this is probably the book reader in me, but I never thought that's what happened, even the first time I watched the episode. What I thought was happening is she was feeling his weaves pushing against their ward or their shield, and she could feel the location of where he was trying to push through. I know this is just my own personal headcanon, but I think they actually do mention this in the book somewhere, and it only makes sense. There's no other way for this to work. It makes sense to me that certain Aes Sedai, specifically the Reds and probably the Greens, would practice channeling and protecting themselves against weaves that they can't see. Especially the Reds. You would need to be able to do that. So that just makes sense. That's what happened here. Okay, but this next moment, I can't be quite as charitable towards, I guess. It's still awesome, okay? I don't want to take that away. I love this moment. Nynaeve's explosion. It's amazing. It's epic. I still squeal with glee. But it's confusing. There's confusion here. I know as a book reader that Logain should not be able to see this. And I know that there were explanations what do we call them? Ex parte explanations? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea if I'm using that term right. But I know that there were explanations on Twitter by people who are involved in the show that they tried to explain this away. He's not reacting to what he's seeing. He's reacting to something else. He's reacting to debris flying or I don't know, wind or something. He's not reacting to a massive explosion of light, but that is not what this looks like. I think he even shields his eyes. It very much looks like he's reacting to light. And I do think that if you have to explain it outside of the show afterwards, then that's probably a sign that it wasn't conveyed well enough in the show. Plus, he says a raging sun, which I know that's just an echo of what Moraine said, but it doesn't help that sentence that's visual imagery. That phrase, I should say, is visual imagery, and so it reinforces the idea that he saw something. But the moment's still amazing. The episode's still that nitpick at the end. That's my main nitpick with this episode. That nitpick notwithstanding, this episode is pretty near perfect for me. I love it. So far in my rewatch, this one was the most enjoyable to watch on a... I don't even know how many times I've seen this episode. I loved it. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on a rewatch of episode 4 of The Wheel of Time. How about you? Did you pick up anything new this time around? Let me know in the comments. And if you like my content and you want to support me, please consider checking out my Patreon. Links in the description. My patrons, if you don't know this, but they are all beloved by dogs and children, which is universally considered a sign that they're just incredible, awesome people. And I love and adore and I'm so grateful for all of you. I always say it and I always mean it. Thank you guys so much. And with that, I will end this here. So please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!